Hey guys, this is Adam Dorito from the Tuxes Tomahawks Podcast, and I just want to apologize for the crappy streaming we had on the Colorado Hispanic Republicans forum this evening. The Wide Open Saloon had terrible internet. So I'm going to upload the full video here. This is just a little bit of an after-action preview before we get started. And I really hope you enjoy all the candidates that showed up tonight and answered the 10 questions I developed, and then we took a bunch of questions from the audience, which I had nothing to do with. And I thought it was a really good insight to who these people are and what they want to do for you as the potential chairman of the Colorado State GOP. And it's unfortunate that not all the candidates wanted to show up or couldn't show up. They had other commitments or whatever. But I would like to extend a formal invite to any candidate running for any position in the office before the 29th to reach out to me for a long-form interview. I'm more than happy to, for free, publish who you are, what you stand for, what you're running for, and what you want to do. We need new leadership for the Republicans here in the state of Colorado if we want to turn it red, and I want to give that opportunity fairly to everyone. So enjoy this forum. I believe it was very informative. We got some definite answers and know where these candidates stand, and I wish the best of luck to all candidates running in office. Here we go.
Hispanic Republicans. Okay. If we could have the board come on up. No, I don't have a time limit, sorry. So, I am Raymond Garcia, the chairman of the Colorado Hispanic Republicans. We have Gabriel Martinez here, who is the secretary. Gabe Martinez, the second Gabe we have, brother Gabe, who is not able to be here tonight. He had a prior engagement. Dr. Lojinos Gonzalez is here. Jessica, all bonus members. Nick Razzo. Okay. And we also have Darcy Shannon, who is on leave because she is running for chair. So she stepped down from the board and will return after the election. So let's see, do we have any elected officials here tonight we'd like to recognize? I don't see any. Oh, yeah, come on up.
I'm with the RTD board.
Okay, RTD board. Hey. Come say your name. Yeah, it's Kathleen Chandler if you haven't heard, but. Hey.
Hello, I'm Kathleen Chandler, and I'm with the RTD board, District F, which is most of Aurora. So thank you.
Thank you, Kathleen. Did you want to say?
Robin O'Hara, Vice Chair, Arapahoe County Republicans.
Thank you, Robin, Vice Chair, Arapahoe County Republicans. I'd also like to introduce Hugo Chavez Ray, who needs no introduction. He has a podcast. If you haven't heard his podcast, it is wonderful. And he is with Nick here. They have a great podcast.
Hispanic Patriot Podcast, everybody.
The Hispanic Patriot Podcast. So I think that's it for the opening stuff, if I'm not mistaken. So thank you guys for coming up. Oh, I forgot. There we go. Oh, I'm sorry. The most important one. Adam Dorito, who is moderating and is putting this whole thing here. Adam Dorito, please stand up, say hi.
I'm not going to stand up. I got this done. But hey, guys, see you online.
Thank you, Adam. So to let you guys know, Colorado Hispanic Republicans is a nonprofit donation organization. We need your help to help be able to do this stuff that we do here. So if you can donate anything you can, we very much appreciate it. None of this stuff is free except for the people that work for you. CHR is all volunteer. We do not get paid. So thank you very much for that. Let's see, I'm going to have this back at my desk so everybody can see it. So we're going to start off tonight since, let's see, we have so far 3 candidates that did show up and 2 candidates that weren't able to make it, but Britta Horn was able to send somebody, so I'm going to give him 5 minutes. This is Jerry Natividad. I'm going to give him 5 minutes to make a plea for Britta. And Jerry, here you are.
Thank you, Ray. Well, unfortunately, Britta, who is a very good friend of mine, has a conflict tonight, obviously. She did reach out to me and ask me if I was doing anything on a Thursday evening. And I checked my calendar, and I couldn't find anything. And so I did get back to her, and I said, I'm still looking. I asked my wife if we were doing anything, and she says no. And I said, can't you come up with something? In any regard, I'm here. It's an honor. Brita Horn has been a very dear friend of mine. When I ran for the United States Senate in 2016, she was one of the first individuals that stepped up and said, "What can I do to help you with your campaign?" She nominated me at the convention in Colorado Springs that year, and I was very blessed and fortunate to have her. And so in reality, when I talk about the fact that I was looking for something to do so I couldn't be here, I'm lying. I'm lying. She asked me, and I immediately raised my hand and said, yes, I'll be here. So I'm here representing a wonderful Coloradoan, a wonderful American, an individual that has a tremendous heart, a lot of energy. I spoke to her this morning on the phone. We were talking about this event. And I actually, when I got off the phone, I was energized. And this was at 7 o'clock this morning. But the truth of the matter is that it's an honor to represent Mrs. Horn as she pursues an opportunity to lead the Colorado Republican Party. Today and into the future from today is the time that this party needs to show up with one idea. And I don't know if you know what that one idea would be, and I'm happy to take feedback from the crowd. What do you think that idea should be? What should that idea be about moving into the future for the Colorado Republican Party? What should it be? What's the one thing? Unity. Unity. Coming together as a group, as an organization that says we are going to win the next go-round here in the state of Colorado. And this is what Brita brings to the table. The energy that this woman has, the commitment that she has, and the direction in the future that she has for this party is all unselfish. So it's an honor to be here, to be able to share those thoughts with you. And I know that we're going to get into some Q&A and things of this nature, and I'm prepared to respond to that, but I just want to take this moment to say we are at a crossroads. Now, I won't share how old I am, but Hugo and I know that him and I can hold hands in the park to hold each other up, I think, right, Hugo? But in any case, this is where I'm going with this. I became a Republican. I'm a Reagan Republican. So it goes back a long time, right? A long time. And I see somebody from Jefferson County here, so I think that Rainby, you and I know each other. But the truth of the matter is I became a Reagan Republican because the Democrats sucked back in those days. And let me tell you one of the things that attracted me from what Ronald Reagan said. He said, this party is like a big tent that is expanded, it is welcoming, and we want to represent all Americans that think like us, and we need to think like them because we want a great country, and that's what we're going to bring if we unite under the Republican Party. And what did Ronald Reagan go on and do? He landslid. Same thing that President Reagan did. He did the same exact thing. Ronald Reagan, so when it's red, it means I'm done. So how many?
You have 30 seconds.
30 seconds. Here's the point. Reagan, President Trump, what they did is they reached out and embraced every single American with something of unity. And what's happening today, history with President Trump, history back in the 1980s. That is what Brita wants to bring to the state of Colorado today, moving forward. So I'll concede the rest of my time, sir. There you go.
Thank you, Jerry. Before you go, I am going to ask you one question. So,
how old am I?
No, because you're going to ask me how old I am, and I'm not going to tell you. So everybody will agree that Colorado Hispanic Republicans puts on the best debates and forum in Colorado. We always have. That is well established. Oh, sorry. Got to be in the camera, I guess. So everybody agrees that. But where my question is for you and for Brita especially, recently I saw Brita show up on Kyle Clark,
yeah,
who is a well-known Democrat supporter, and she went on to his station and gave an interview for him, but she couldn't come to Colorado Hispanic Republicans debate.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Well, you know, look, I can't speak for Britta on that part, but I can tell you this. When I ran for the U.S. Senate and I had to crisscross this state, I know what it's like to try and meet every single obligation or request that's out there. And it's tough. It is tough. I did that as a U.S. Senate candidate. I did that. So, you know, what she has other obligations, she has other pursuits, and she has individuals like myself and others that are willing to come and speak on her behalf. This doesn't question her loyalty or her pursuit or her commitment. What it says is that we need to spread the reach out tentacles. Am I saying that right? Okay. And we need to utilize the resources that are around us to get us past this finish line, okay? So, hey, but if you don't want me here, I am Latino.
That's what we
si queremos hablar en español, vamos, okay? I know you can't, but I can speak. Where's the other gentleman? Ándale, si queremos hablar en español, podemos, okay? But you know, there is a commitment. There's a commitment, and let me just say this. I was referring to President Trump and the historic measures that he accomplished with the Hispanic community in terms of voters in the United States. Voters, Hispanic voters, not Hispanic Republican voters. In the entire United States, there's around 33% Hispanic registered voters. He hit 48, so that's an additional 15% that he reached out and got from somewhere else. And the same thing in the state of Colorado. This cannot be monolithic. It's got to be diverse. There are Hispanics out there that are just itching and urging, but guess what? There's no marketing to them. And there's a lot of them that are unaffiliated, and they don't know where to go. And so what do? They default. They go to the Democrats because Democrats are better at lying. Okay? Well, they call it marketing, but it's lying. Okay? And it's really good lies. It's kind of like, oh, pobrecito, come with us, we'll help you. Okay? So
you've been done.
Time? He's been done. Oh, yeah. Okay,
yeah.
Time's up.
Well, yeah, that's a great question. Now I got to go sit in the corner, right?
No, you're welcome to sit here if you'd like.
Yeah.
There you go.
There you go, guys.
So just to be clear, it's just us three participating. Okay.
I'm sorry, I have one more thing I was supposed to, and I forgot. The people of Elbert County are holding a chair debate forum on Wednesday, March 19th at 6 p.m., Franktown Fire Station, 1959 North State Highway 83, Franktown, Colorado. So, all right. All right, guys. Oh, and without further ado, Adam Carolla, take it away.
Carolla. Okay. Anyway. Well, that was a great introduction, Ray. Thank you very much. I know the internet's really bad out there. Sorry, the upload speed is terrible, but I will hard record this and upload the entire video on YouTube for everyone to see at a later time. All right, so let's review this. The rules of the forum will be quite simple. We will address top policy concerns for the Republican Party in our beloved state. A description of those policies in alignment to the Trump Agenda 47 will be explained for each of those subjects. Now let's go over the rules. Rule number 1, the first question for each topic will be yes or no, to draw a line in the sand of where you stand as a candidate on those topics. As we prepare to elect a new chair for the Colorado GOP, it is important that we get direct stances on these policies without avoiding answering the question. Rule number 2, the second question will be more open-ended, and you will have 2 minutes to answer that question to the best of your ability. Rule number 3, at the end of the policy session, we will take open-ended questions from the audience. And for transparency, to be 100% clear, no candidate has been given any of these questions in advance. Only I know what they are, and the chairman of the Colorado Hispanic Republicans. Do you all understand the rules of this forum? Great.
Yes. That's the first question, right?
2 minutes. All right, we're going to switch over these, and we're going to do this. All right, we're going to go with question number 1, and you guys can just go down the line as you please. Election integrity and voter confidence, secure the elections initiative. Donald Trump has prioritized election integrity, calling for paper ballots, voter ID, and stopping ballot harvesting. In Colorado, there needs to be a push for voter ID laws, greater transparency in mail-in voting, legislative action to curb universal mail-in ballots, and ballot harvesting practices. First question, do you support open primary elections? Yes or no?
Absolutely not.
No.
Hell no.
All right. Perfect. Question number 2, which you will be each given 2 minutes to answer according to election integrity. What will you do as state chair to ensure election integrity and voter confidence, especially concerning the current Secretary of State's actions in leaking the BIOS passwords? Each have 2 minutes.
So if you had asked this question last year, my answer would be entirely different because as you all know, we're in Colorado. This is a blue state. I'm not going to lie to you and tell you that we should write legislation or that somehow we're going to get the legislature to fix our elections and have an election integrity. We're just not. The positive is that now with President Trump at the helm, he has already written several orders and signaled to the states that there is legislation coming to help us have more secure elections. Now that opens up a lot of questions because as people have pointed out, not all of that is under the purview of the federal government, but some of it is. So all of that to say that now that President Trump is at the helm and I have really good communication with the Trump administration, I'm going to be working with them as chair to make sure that as much election integrity, as many processes that we could possibly implement in the state of Colorado, that we do that. And if there are Democrat cities and counties that are pushing back, that we hold them accountable. So this nonsense that Phil Weiser is pulling in regards to Tina Peters and saying you can't look into this court case, we're not going to stand for that. We will hold these Democrat localities accountable that are ruining our elections up to and including legal action, courts, imprisonment, whatever it may be, but we will get there. So I look forward to working with the Trump administration to secure our elections. Thank you.
So I will point out for the folks with camera, my response to what we need to do about election integrity is on my button. Opt out. The first step is securing our own Republican elections. And on my button, opt out is bigger than my name because I believe it's more important than I am. If we are going to continue allowing Democrat, or rather non-Republicans, to vote in our candidate elections, Democrats to fund and throw their money around in our primary selections, and then have the whole thing counted by a Democrat Secretary of State, why even call ourselves Republicans? I don't think that there's a more pressing issue than getting us out of these open primaries and getting our own hands and having Republicans select Republican candidates. And I yield the balance of my time.
Right. My answer to that is, well, one of the things you can look at my voting record and what I've done as a state representative, one of my very first bills was to run a bill to take illegal aliens off our voter rolls. They are there. They add them automatically when they get driver's licenses. I also ran an amendment to a bill to take dead people off the voter rolls because they are voting, mostly Democrat. So I think also that as far as you, one of my good friends, John Lott Jr., he's an economist. He wrote the book More Guns, Less Crime. But he also analyzed some of the election results that happen across the country. There was a town in Pennsylvania that was pretty homogenous as far as its makeup, except for one thing. The town was split between two different counties. One county had a Republican clerk, and the other one had a Democrat clerk. Guess what the results were? Completely different. We know the election was stolen. So I've been one of the first ones to say that and support President Trump on that. Also, the opt-out and close the primary are very important. I worked for months to defeat the coup to keep Dave Williams in that seat, to make sure we can continue this fight to close the primary and do the opt-out and take this out of the hands of Jenna Griswold. This is an important thing that we need to do. Self-governance is hard. But we as Republicans can do this, and we can figure it out. And I plan on asking Tina Peters to help us with that effort, because I think that she does have integrity, and have her help with that opt-out effort. Thirdly, in the general election, we don't have to certify those results if we know that the election's stolen. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your answers.
I'm sorry, Jerry, you cannot. Oh, I can't. No. You had 5 minutes at the beginning. Okay.
We're only allowing candidates running for office to answer the questions, Jerry.
Oh, I see.
Yep.
Okay.
You could stay up there for open forum later if the chairman permits it, but that's just the rules of the forum. Number 2, revitalizing the Republican Party in Colorado, the America First GOP renewal. Trump emphasizes party unity and grassroots strength to take back the blue-leaning states. In Colorado, the focus is on winning suburban and Hispanic voters, building a strong grassroots movement, and investing in youth outreach and social media to counter Democratic dominance, and it's necessary to revitalize the party. Your yes or no question. Do you believe the Colorado GOP should do more to reach out to conservatives and support their values?
That's an easy yes.
Yes.
I'm trying to help you.
Okay.
Yes.
Great. Question number 2, which you'll each have 2 minutes to answer. What will you do as state chair to increase the GOP presence in our communities?
I'll go first on that one. So I've actually seen this happen in person. Weld County had a great contingent of folks that was working very hard, and they came up with a great plan. That plan will be on my website tomorrow. But we need to start with the building blocks of our party, and that is the precinct committee people. If we are engaging the precinct committee people, and then, by the way, making sure precinct committees actually are filled with volunteers, that's really important, especially in light of what Weld County just did this last week. A lot of those folks spent hundreds of hours walking for candidates. Those same candidates actually rejected them. Volunteers for these elected officials actually rejected the very volunteers that made up their base. That's tragic, and that's not a Republican value. Also, what we can do is we can make sure that GOP data centers are available to district captains. So, for example, we can give PCPs a goal. We can train these folks to make sure they are talking to targeted voters like unaffiliated that share our values, and other Republicans to get them to join our party again. A lot of people haven't wanted to join our party because we've seen how they vote at the state legislature. They vote along with Democrats a lot of times. We are diluting our party values by not letting Republicans choose their Republican candidates. So again, this is why the close the primary is so very important. I was endorsed by Kevin Lundberg, who is the chair of the close the primary committee, because he knows I'm committed to this. But as far as the PCPs go, we need to welcome people into our party, and that starts neighbor to neighbor. Just like you share the good news neighbor to neighbor in proximity with others, that's why we need to get more people in these districts, not less. We need to get more people talking to their neighbors about what President Donald J. Trump is doing for them on every level of government and saving our country.
I'll go ahead and point out that myself, Lori, and Darcy are not going to be terribly divergent on a lot of these issues. I will speak to my background, which is being a pastor's kid in front of some of the largest churches across America. Our church has experienced 100% year-on-year growth as an average. That happens because we created an environment that people wanted to be a part of. And if you, our party right now has a lot of contention, a lot of fighting, and I know this isn't directly in this thing, but I think it is relevant. And that is, people want to be invited to fun things. They want to be invited, and they want to be shown that they are respected and loved. When you invite people to a Republican meeting, or if you invite people over to your house, if mommy and daddy start fighting in the living room, no one's staying for dessert. Like, that's just the way it is. The contention within our party must be addressed and dealt with in order to maintain the health that can then bring about growth. No one has ever grown while unhealthy. If you're in a hospital bed and your doctor comes in and suggests weight training, you need a new doctor. First step is to get healthy. But it's just get healthy. Like, you can't possibly not, if you're not healthy, you're not going to grow. And we need to bring about the conciliation and the change. In El Paso County, I'll mention this, we pursued the precinct strategy. When Vicki Tompkins took office down there, whether you like her, I love her, but we had 35
Thank you, Mr. Goodall. Your 2 minutes is up.
35%, and now we have 81%.
These are so awkward. Okay, so one of the things that I've continued to stress is that we have to meet the voters where they are. And I mean physically, but I also mean politically, meeting the voters where they are. So we're finding voters in the churches that Jeremy just mentioned, out in community events, parades. We have to have GOTV efforts that are robust and that happen often, and that we recruit a lot of volunteers to help with. So recruiting those precinct leaders at different types of events is going to be a key strategy for the Colorado GOP under my administration. Another thing that we are missing as Republicans is, unlike the Democrats, we're not really going into high schools, colleges. We're not really recruiting our youth as strongly as we could be doing. So I've seen the Democrats going into high schools in Monument, where I live, and saying, okay, you can vote next year. Here's why you should vote Democrat. Here's why you should be part of our party. Our youth are impressionable. They just need to hear the right message, right? But what is the right message? Do we need to go to the high schools and talk about low taxes? Do we need to talk about the right to life? What is the right message for our high schools? And just like every other community in Colorado, we need to show our high school kids, the Hispanic community, the Black community, the LGBT community, when you're a Republican and you put our values out into the community, we have better communities, right? Castle Rock and Monument, they live way better than people up in Denver. So we have to show them that being a Republican means low crime, low taxes, successful businesses, and better test scores, better schools for our kids. That's the effective message that we have to continue to drive home to recruit precinct leaders. Thank you.
All right, going on to question number 3. Gun rights and Second Amendment protections defending constitutional freedoms. Trump has pledged to roll back gun control measures and protect Second Amendment rights now more than ever. We need to oppose red flag laws, repeal magazine bans, and support constitutional carry to counter ongoing gun reactions in this state. Your yes or no question. Do you support the right for law-abiding citizens to own firearms for self-defense and protection against crime without conditions?
Shall not be infringed. Second Amendment all the way. Yes.
Yes.
Just making sure you're drawing a line here, people.
Obviously.
We apparently have a problem in this state with that. So, all right, your 2-minute question. What will you do to oppose radical gun control bills in Colorado as state chair?
So as state chair, the pretty much the only way you can affect constitutional issues, gun control, any of these terrible Democrat ideas, is to get strong, principled, conservative Republicans elected. And so there's really, the chair is actually a very unique position. It is effectively the king of the chessboard. Now, does anyone here play chess? We see some hands? Okay. Just one guy, okay. Well, you'll understand this. Yeah, well, and Ray, okay. So on the chessboard, the king is the most important piece on the board, by virtue of the fact that if you positioned it incorrectly and you try to overextend it, the game is over. getting the placement of the king, i.e. the chair, that's the biggest thing. The king is not the most powerful piece on the board. It's limited. It can only move one space in any direction. And so as the king of the chessboard, and I certainly wouldn't use the word king of the party, that's chairman, not a dictator, but as the chair of the party, you have very specific roles, you have very specific duties, and you have to inspire and bring about changes in others to then go out and do the policy and the changes and all of that. So understanding the role of the chair, the best thing that we can do is provide the health, provide the resources, and get strong, conservative, principled conservative Republicans elected. I yield the rest of my time.
Okay, so to Jeremy's point, nothing's going to change at the legislature until we get good, principled Republicans elected and in those seats, right? We can go up there and testify all we want right now. And like I said to you earlier, I'm not going to lie to you and tell you that that's going to have a huge impact. Unfortunately, it's just not. We need to continue to testify so that we can make noise around those bills and we can signal to other conservatives across the state that we are working on this issue. But aside from that, there are 3 other ways in Colorado that we protect our Second Amendment rights. The second way is by donating to organizations that are actively pursuing lawsuits against the unconstitutional bills that our legislature has already passed. RMGO, Rocky Mountain Gun Owners, would be my #1 choice of who to donate money to for legal funds. The other thing, okay, listen, guys. So I'm the Director of Special Initiatives for the Colorado GOP. So for the last several years, I've been writing policies to protect localities from the overreach and the unconstitutional laws coming from our legislature. I'm going to use Safe Spaces gun law as an example. Last year, our legislature passed the Safe Spaces gun law. You can't bring guns into county city buildings if that board has said that you can't, because they're safe spaces. There's no such thing as safe spaces when it comes to my Second Amendment rights. So I went all around the state and I talked to localities, counties and cities, and I said, please opt out of Safe Spaces gun laws. And they did. So it doesn't just stop at the legislature, it stops locally. It stops with us. So we have to do that. We have to protect our localities, raise the money, bring attention to those laws. And when we do all of those things working together, we will have an intact Second Amendment in Colorado. Thank you.
So I started my career with the mag ban bill. I ran that every single year. Magpul was actually in my district. They left because of the actions of the state legislature to ban magazines that basically don't shoot anybody on their own. But there's a lot of reasons why we need to keep fighting the Democrats regardless. Even if it looks hopeless, I did testify on that bill. It did change. It's still terrible. Hope Schuppelman spent 10 hours down there. She drove all the way from La Plata County. That matters. It really does. And it inspires others to do the same and push back. If we want to inspire others, we need to show leadership first by showing up, first of all. And I think I'm the only candidate that helped RMGO, especially with the lawsuit that we won and they timed out. The lawsuit was against the red flag bill. They passed an unconstitutional law unconstitutionally. I was on that lawsuit with Dave Williams. He is a hero when it comes to the Second Amendment, and I really respect that. So we need to keep fighting. We need to put good candidates in, of course, but in the meantime, leadership should show up first. They should show up first and do what they say they're going to do, because that inspires people to get out of their homes and to join our party and to vote for our party. So I can't tell you how important that is. It is extremely important. So with that, I'll yield the rest of my time.
Thank you for your answer. Question number 4, education reform and parental rights, saving American education and protecting children. Trump's plan includes abolishing critical race theory, banning gender ideology in schools, and expanding school choice. There has been a massive fight in this state against progressive curriculum mandates, advocating for school choice in charter schools, and support parental rights in education. Your yes or no question: do you support school choice so parents can send their children to better performing schools, including charter and private schools?
Yes, that's a loaded question, though, so I'm going to have to come back to it.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, your 2-minute question is, what will you do to support school choice and oppose liberal indoctrination as state chair?
Okay, don't start my time. Okay.
And we'll give you an extra 5 seconds. It's fine.
Okay, so school choice, when we talk about school choice in Colorado, as I just mentioned, we've got a hard battle at the legislature. There was a ballot initiative in 2025 for school choice. It failed miserably. So to work on school choice, we've got to go around the state and educate our school boards, educate our localities on what school choice looks like. And in my mind, we also have to get the unaffiliated on our side as far as school choice goes. Without the unaffiliated vote, we're not going to pass any further school choice policies. That said, the indoctrination, the anti-white racism, the BLM agenda, the trans agenda, that can all be removed from our schools while we simultaneously work on school choice. That has been a big sticking point of mine for the last several years. I chaired Moms for Liberty. I formed that organization in El Paso County and then took that fight to the state level and started working as director of special initiatives at the GOP. So all of the school boards across Colorado, I've been going to them and saying, okay, look, let's opt your kids, let's opt your school district out of these mental health assessments. Let's opt your district out of protecting this pride flag, or whatever the case may be. So when we talk about indoctrination in our schools, again, it doesn't just stop at the state legislature, and it doesn't just stop with school choice. It falls on us, and our children are our most innocent asset. They deserve to be protected at all costs. If we as a Republican Party cannot agree that our kids are our biggest fight, then I don't know where we are as a party. So we have to stand for our kids.
Oh, we're going to bounce it back and forth. So when it comes to education and school choice, I don't have to deal with this in a theoretical fashion. My wife founded the first charter school in Colorado. They were the third charter school in the nation. They were the first to document their process. And through that, my wife, we added it up a couple months back talking about it. She's influenced the education of almost like 1.5 to 2.5 million students last year. This is how we do it, is not waiting for other people to show it. In my family, we see a problem, we address it directly. Sometimes that's picking up the phone. Sometimes that's filing paperwork, arguing with the state, getting funding dragged out of a school district, and putting up a school. I don't know what else to tell you on that. As a charter board member of Protect Kids Colorado, protecting our kids, getting involved in, and actually I worked with Darcy this last cycle. She was actually a co-proponent with my own father, I made that introduction, on the stopping sex changes and bringing the medical practices of sex change off the table. We have avenues, and we must be creative and not limit ourselves to just traditional avenues of approach and traditional solutions. The world allows you to just do stuff. And if we take our blinders off and we get a little bit creative, there's no stopping what we can do as a cohesive, aggressive, or assertive force.
Thank you for your answer.
So I've run bills as well to make sure the parents get tax credits for having a choice to go to a charter school, private school, but I do want to emphasize that's still not safe. So my experience with our first charter school is my daughter came home with homework saying, and she was really confused. She said the homework was making her say Allah is God and the Quran is the Bible. This is a Republican-started charter school. They would not let me see the taxpayer, the book the taxpayers paid for that they were teaching out of. So we left that school. We went to another charter school where they said Merry Christmas, and it suddenly changed to Happy Holidays the next season. And they were teaching her to protest the Second Amendment on the front lawn. So I homeschooled my daughter from grade 5 on to high school. I was the CHEC, that's the Colorado Home Educators Association Statesman of the Year, because one of the things that I've done is fight for against those vaccine mandates with RFK Jr. I told the Democrats I was going to take a can of Red Bull, I'm going to sit it on the podium, and I'm going to speak all night. And they finally said, what do you want? I said, I want homeschool out of this bill. So I've been fighting for kids for a long time. I got fifth graders on down out of a horrible bill to teach them sex education in 2013. When I read their own bill, they put their heads down in shame because of what it said. And the chairman tried to actually strike me down and said, to the bill, Representative Stain, I said, I'm reading your bill. So I've been in this fight a long time and encourage our legislators to bring forth those bills. But also, I will be helping Protecting Children in Colorado again, as far as helping with the initiative. I'm also helping the Colorado Life Initiative do the same. So it is very important. We are born, male or female, in the image of God. And that's important even before we're born, because he said he knew us before we were even born.
Thank you for your answer. Halfway through, moving on to question number 5. Economic growth, taxes, Tabor protection, the America First economic policy. Trump supports tax cuts, deregulation, and policies that prioritize American workers. And now more than ever, the America First conservatives need to defend the taxpayer Bill of Rights, oppose new taxes and business regulations, and promote small business growth in this state. Your yes or no question. Do you support lowering taxes and reducing regulations on small businesses, many of which are owned by entrepreneurs here in the state? Because apparently we have some representatives here in the state who don't like to vote for these things at all. Liberty scorecard.
Can we all say it together?
Yes.
Great, perfect.
We're saving you time already.
Hey, you know what? Look, I want to make sure that there's a line drawn in the sand, because apparently we have conservative people in this state that think it's okay to vote for Democratic bills, and it blows my mind. Anyway, what will you do as state chair to oppose these tax increases as state chair?
I'm going to hold our elected officials accountable, just like I did in Weld County. I showed up, I was the only county commissioner to say, no, we are not going to keep that tax money. They wanted to keep $80 million for an ag building. What kind of ag building is that? It probably has a gold saddles, I'm not real sure. And where they wanted to build it, the EPA wasn't going to allow it anyway because it was in the flood zone. And then they finally admitted, well, we're just going to spend it however we want. How is that different from the Democrats and what they're doing every day? So as a state chair, I will hold people accountable to our Republican values and principles, and that includes limited government. That includes a personal responsibility. That includes all those things. And so helping our representatives with good bills, by the way, I just testified on another bill, again, important to testify, but that bill actually reduced Green New Deal regulations that are actually killing our small business owners. And by the way, I would say Hispanics are some of the most entrepreneurial people on the face of this earth. And it's important to make sure that we are not choking the life out of them like we are doing in Colorado with all these red tape and regulations. I have run bills that cut red tape. I have actually been successful at that. That's the difference I bring with leadership is I have that background with even in the minority. I have forced government to grow smaller, not bigger. I ran a bill to allow whistleblowers in our government to identify waste, fraud, and abuse, report it anonymously. And we saved almost $600 million in 1 year. That's one of the first DOGE bills that was passed in the state of Colorado. So I have the experience necessary as state chair. I will continue that to point out that waste, fraud, and abuse and hold our elected officials accountable, whether they're Republicans or they're Democrats.
I don't think any of us are going to disagree with the need for accountability. And accountability starts at home. Accountability starts with us. As a state party chair, I think the best thing to do as far as this tax stuff is, one, hold the line. Hold the line on policy, hold the line, hold people's feet to the fire. When Republicans start getting squishy, accountability is absolutely necessary. Inter-party discipline, which has been ignored, not just, well, we've seen, like, it's had to come back a little bit because it's been provoked. But what led to this and the severity of what we've had to deal with this last bit is that it's been ignored for too long. We're talking decades. This is the problems we're dealing with and we're trying to put together right now are not problems that erupted overnight in Colorado. These are problems that have been decades in the making. And as the chair, your job is to keep the party clean. Keep the party clean. Keep it tidy. Yeah.
Okay, so starting from square one, we have to elect good conservative Republicans to state and local seats. If we elect good conservative Republicans, by way of closing our primaries, working on the opt-out, and working with those candidates to educate them about what it means to be a conservative, then we won't have as many Republicans sitting on boards and sitting at the legislature and trying to raise our taxes. So when they do raise our taxes, as they will continue to do inevitably, we have to look at it. You guys are probably sick of me talking about this. It starts locally, right? So the state legislature is passing all these laws and handing out the money, but where are they sending it? Our localities, our local mayors, our county commissioners, our school boards are just pigs at the trough, just spending that money because they know Daddy Polis will send more of it the second that the localities ask for it. And one of my biggest pet peeves is these damn MLOs that are all around the state. We have so many Republicans. I watched Republicans in Douglas County last cycle say, well, we have to have this tax increase. It's for the kids. Oh my God, how far we have fallen as a party. I pulled their budget just like I do every time anyone asks for an MLO. There was so much waste in there. It was embarrassing. It was a joke. Go back to the drawing table. Tell me where your waste is, and I can tell you where it is. It's in the fat cat administrations. Come back to me and tell me that you don't have any more money, and then we can talk about it, but that won't ever happen because all these localities are doing, especially our school districts, is wasting our money. And if we put a stop to it, it's not going to continue funneling down from the state as much as it has been. So keep an eye on what's happening locally, where the money's coming from. Follow the money.
Thank you for your answer. Moving on to number 6, and this one's going to have a yes or no, a 2-minute, and then by request of the chairman, a 1-minute question as well. Crime, law enforcement support, and public safety. Restore law and order. Trump has vowed to end soft on-crime policies, increase public funding, and combat drug cartels. There needs to be a bigger push for tougher sentencing laws, oppose cashless bail, increase support for law enforcement, and to counter the crime in cities like Denver. Your yes or no question. Do you support tougher penalties for drug cartels and criminals who bring fentanyl and crime into our communities?
Yes.
Yes.
I want to be clear on that. Some people have a problem with this, apparently. Your 2-minute question. What will you do as state chair to ensure that there is accountability within the Colorado Republican Party for those who intend to divide the party further? And what will you do to stop such divisive behavior as referenced by recently filed lawsuits?
Well, when it comes to dealing with interpersonal conflict, I follow a biblical model. First, you go to the offending party privately. You try and get it dealt with. Then, if that doesn't resolve it, you bring a couple of brothers with you. And then, if that doesn't solve it, you bring it to a wider body. And if that doesn't solve it, biblically, you are to cast them out and have nothing further to do with them. This is a difficult thing, but discipline always is. Discipline is not pleasant. I don't know anybody that enjoys spanking their kids. But you do it because if you don't, they grow up spoiled rotten and end up in much bigger trouble. We have to remember that dealing with politicians is a lot like dealing with kids. They say politicians and babies need changing often and for the same reason. So I will tell you that when people stop acting correctly and people start acting the fool, they'll get a talking to. Then they'll get a process, and the formal processes that are in the bylaws, and we'll follow that. But if they refuse to be brought to correction, then you will have to use extraordinary means, lawsuits, public shaming, all that. I would even say excommunication from the party is not without merit in some cases. But it's an unpleasant task, and it takes somebody with a little bit of a daddy swagger to carry it out sometimes.
I would like to think I have that daddy swagger. So as somebody who, like I told you guys what I've been doing for the last several years, but I come from Marriott. I used to manage hotels. It's one of the hardest jobs you could possibly imagine because they're 24/7 and there's so many different types of employees. I want to run, and I will run, the Colorado GOP just like I ran a Marriott property, or just like successful business owners would run Google or Walmart or what have you. So leaders, we have to define our goals clearly, and we have to keep our volunteers, our precinct leaders, our activists with their eyes on the prize and all working towards the same goal. I developed our Build Our Benches initiative, Bob. I have almost $200,000 in donor commitments for the 2025 school board elections. And ideally, I would like everybody in this room to be involved with that effort to help get school board candidates elected and raise money for school board candidates in 2025. And that same process will be replicated in 2026 for the statewide candidates and congressional candidates. If we're all working on the same goals, we keep our eyes on the prize, we don't have as much time to get on Facebook and call each other names or go out into the community and yell crazy things out in public. Now, when we do, guess what? We can't let those things fester. So just like when I worked at Marriott and my two front desk people were having an argument, guess what? No guests are gonna get checked in, and the whole thing's gonna collapse if I don't pull those two people into a room and say, guys, we gotta work this out. And a lot of people in this room know me for that and may have been on a couple of those calls that I've orchestrated, because if we don't nip conflict in the bud early, then it festers and it gets worse. So my promise to you is, as these conflicts develop, I will be working actively and aggressively to stomp them out before they destroy our party. Thank you.
So, pardon with all the spanking, what was the question again?
What will you do as state chair to ensure that there is accountability within the Colorado Republican Party for those who intend to divide the party further? And what will you do to stop such divisive behavior as referenced by recently filed
good.
lawsuits?
All right, now I got it. Okay, very good. Okay, I was just wondering. Well, first of all, we should hold our elected officials accountable when they're actually actively being divisive, like Darcy did when she first came out swinging against me and said, I'm not a leader or a doer. Not particularly helpful at all. And I will hold you accountable for that. So we'll start there. But secondly, we do have a lawsuit against the people who started the coup. I think that is important because they took our donor money. They sued Hope and Dave and everyone else personally for doing their job. Can you imagine trying to do your job and getting sued personally? So yes, they should be held accountable on that lawsuit. I will continue that lawsuit. I haven't seen another candidate up here willing to do that. I will do it. But also, when it comes to peace, there's a great speech by Patrick Henry. Part of it, he references the Bible a lot, and he says, peace, peace, there is no peace. Remember that? The end of the speech was give me liberty or give me death. When the other side of our party says the word unity, that's not what they mean. They mean sit down and shut up. That's what they mean. There's a side of our party that will never stop fighting because they don't have the same motivation we do, which is to give power back to the American people, to give power back to Republicans. And so what you do in those situations, you simply go around them and you continue to do good things. And you create such a vision that people are compelled to follow you with passion and integrity. Thank you.
So there's an add-on 1-minute question and answer as per the chairman who wanted me to ask this. Should the Trump administration intervene on the Tina Peters case, and how have you shown support for her efforts to secure elections?
Yes.
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 And what have you done to show support for her efforts to secure elections?
Is this 1 or 2 minutes?
1 minute.
Okay. So I have worked with Tina since day one. I used to speak for her when she was running for Secretary of State, and she has been an important part of our party. To that end, I did call on Pam Bondi. I contacted Pam Bondi and the Trump administration directly, and I said, we need to put pressure on Polis to pardon Tina Peter, and we need to look into the corrupt judge, Judge Barrett, who sentenced her. Her sentence was extraordinarily long based upon the accusations. 7 days later, they did come back and say, we are investigating this. We do now know that Phil Weiser is pushing back. I'm going to continue to get on the news and make a lot of noise about it and continue to pressure Polis and bring all the Republicans in the state around Tina Peters so that we can continue to expose what a horrible situation she's in and get her out.
So Tina Peters is, in my opinion, a political martyr. She's been hung out to dry, and our party, by and large, let it happen. That's unacceptable. I know the military ethos is no man left behind. Well, we kind of screwed that up. I mean, as much as we want to make noise and draw attention and all of that good stuff, the only path I've really seen kind of advocated to go forward on is getting Donald Trump to encumber federal funds. And as the chair, you would have access to Mar-a-Lago and Trump and can hopefully apply pressure in that way. Being a creative outside-the-box thinker, I think that's the way to go.
Let's be clear about something because the media is spinning this. The judge made it very clear he was punishing Tina Peters for exercising her First Amendment right regarding elections. If he can do that, if that can happen to Tina Peters, it will happen to you. And first of all, you should not use Tina Peters as a political pawn without asking her first and her legal team. I am actually actively working with her legal team. And blackmailing a judge and the governor does one thing and makes them dig their heels in. I'm very afraid if we have a certain person in the chair that Tina will stay in jail, and she is deteriorating very fast. So I'm trying to work to rectify that situation the right way. She needs to be freed. Regardless, everybody I've talked to, even Democrats, agree that she shouldn't be in jail right now with all these violent offenders and being strip searched every single day. And I'm going to make sure I fight as hard as I can in the right way that she wants me to fight to get her out of jail as soon as possible.
Thank you. On to question number 7, energy independence and environmental policy, the Unleash the American Energy Strategy. Trump has promised to restore energy independence and end Biden's restrictions on oil, gas, and coal. We need to defend the oil and gas and coal industries, fight against fracking bans, and challenge progressive climate mandates hurting Colorado's economy. Your yes or no question. Do you support expanding oil and gas jobs in Colorado, which provide good paying opportunities for Colorado workers? Because apparently there's a bunch of people in Weld County who want to take my job and shut my company down.
Yes.
Which they have. 3 of those companies are gone, and we've lost 30,000 jobs because of policies in Weld County. Not to be personal about it, but this is something near and dear to my heart.
Yes.
Okay, great. Number 2, your 2-minute question. What will you do as state chair to support Trump's Drill Baby Drill initiative and oppose Colorado counties who only provide oil and gas permits selectively?
Yes. Do you want me to go first?
Lori, you're probably the lead expert on this one.
I've been in this fight for a long time, and I actually have killed anti-oil and gas bills on the floor. So as part of the, at least I was made the floor manager as part of my job as the caucus chair, and that basically means that you're getting the other representatives up, you give them things to do to talk about, help amend bills, help kill bills. We would go into 5 a.m. in the morning. So we've killed those bills along the way. One of the things I was able to get in one of those bills and making sure that Weld County, which is top in Colorado as far as oil and gas production, had control over their own destiny. I can tell you that was a huge fight. That was a huge fight. I was on the floor doing it. Other people took credit for it. But I was actually in that office with the speaker, with the minority leader. And we got that in the bill. So that's one thing I have been doing. I will continue to do that. We're actually an oil and gas family, by the way. So I definitely like to keep our family going with oil and gas. And as your state chair, I will continue that message about why it's important. I had a contest for kids, not just a Constitution contest, which I do every year, but it's actually a contest. We asked kids and their teachers what would happen if oil and gas disappeared overnight. It was amazing. The videos they brought forward, they had cars disappearing, lights turning out. They may have had some clothes falling off of a barrel over it, and there's nothing, But the teachers actually told me, I never really thought about that before. It's not just fuel. It's not just fuel, it's almost everything we do. It's medicine, it's the clothes we have on our body, right? It's everything. So having that education effort in our schools in a fun way is really making a big impact right now.
You want me to go? Okay. Okay, so back to square one again. We have to look for candidates and recruit candidates that are pro-oil and gas. As we've seen, we haven't always done that in the state of Colorado. So when legislatures in committee are going to debate these oil and gas bills, they've got to have support in their committee. So we have to elect conservatives that are pro-oil and gas. The state GOP, as a matter of fact, in the last round of elections with the primary endorsements, that should have been a question on the questionnaire. That was not on there. So we had 3 pages of questions, but not one question about oil and gas. So let's get to the heart of this and elect good conservatives who are going to advance that industry so that we can advance the right legislation and stop the wrong legislation. And then after that, we have to, as Lori said, work with our younger generations. The Democrats are putting out messaging nonstop every single day to our youth and across our state that oil and gas are basically the devil. And our families, our kids rely on oil and gas every single day, every hour of the day. So we need to counteract that messaging at the same time. And as the Colorado GOP builds its coffers, we will put out messaging to counteract the Democrat messaging that the oil and gas industries are bad. We will counteract that with messaging that supports those industries, get candidates elected that support those industries, and then pass legislation to further the oil and gas industries. Thank you.
So from the chair position, you get the bully pulpit. You get to decide what policies are going to get advanced within the party, and energy needs to be brought back to dominance on that. It needs to be brought back into the conversation. Weld County, I believe, is sitting on 30 billion barrels of provable reserves, and those have been around since, we know about that, I think, in 2008. No drilling permits have been issued because the Democrats control Denver. Darcy's right. Lori's right. We've got to get that messaging out because under Polis, our economy in Colorado has gone from one of the top 10 to 46th. These are textbook issues. These are pocketbook issues, and people are receptive, and they need to be made aware. And as the chair, your job is communication strategy. We got to bring that stuff out and bring it forward and put it on the top of people's minds so that when they think Polis, they think he's why I'm broke. Amen.
Question number 8. Immigration and border security, secure the southern border initiative. Trump's immigration policies include finishing the border wall, deporting illegal immigrants, and stopping sanctuary cities like Denver. As America First conservatives, we need to end sanctuary city policies, crack down on illegal immigration, and work with law enforcement to enforce federal immigration laws. Your yes or no question: do you oppose sanctuary city policies that allow violent criminals to stay in our communities instead of being deported?
Yes.
Just want to clarify that for the audience. Great. And what will you do as state chair to support securing our southern border within our individual counties?
I'll take that one, because Adam's witnessed this fight. He was actually there. So I introduced a resolution in Weld County to make sure that we were not a sanctuary county. We're actually on the map as being a sanctuary county for many reasons. Unfortunately, that was turned down, and then they took away our First Amendment right to speak. And so I had to bring that back. I had a lot of folks that were coming up and asking Weld County, hey, we want to exercise our First Amendment right to petition our government and say, we do want you to do this resolution to not be a sanctuary county. Unfortunately, they took out the part of my resolution where we're actually spending county money on illegal aliens for all kinds of health care. That is county money with the supervisors. Now, Trump's taken away a lot of those programs, so I haven't checked back to see if those were taken, but that really just encourages people to come to our county. We also had a sheriff that actually withdrew his deputies, even though we gave him more funding during this immigration crisis. There's a lot of things I tried to help out with, but that's probably number one. Number three is we need to actually go to the border so we can tell that story. Part of the job of the chair is messaging. So I've been down to the border during Obama, during Trump, and Biden, and what a difference. What an incredible difference just inside that facility, how clean it was and how nice they were to folks, right? Very the opposite of what the media was telling you. During the Obama years, they actually had signs down in Southern America saying Obama wants you here, to basically the same people. Obama wants you to come to the U.S. And I witnessed these horrible, National Guard would show us through those cameras these people with backpacks on. They would threaten their families and say, if you don't get these drugs across the border, we're going to kill your family. The children, the human trafficking, the sheer amount of human trafficking coming across that border. We need to paint that human story. We need to humanize why that's so important to people, because that is pro-life, to shut the border.
So as Director of Special Initiatives last year for the Colorado GOP, I went around the state. You guys keep hearing I went around the state. So I went around the state again, and I talked to all the counties and cities, and I was instrumental and successful in writing policies tailored to their individual counties and cities to declare themselves as non-sanctuary localities. We lost track somewhere around 40 cities and counties. After that, it just continued to grow. That's how we isolate conservative-leaning communities in Colorado to stand up and do the right thing and make some noise and show that Denver and Boulder don't control our state. Just because Denver and Boulder want to be filled with illegals and be a third world hellhole doesn't mean that we in Monument, Castle Rock, Sedalia want to live like that. So we as localities have to stand up. Now I'll take it a step further, and I'm going to sound a little bit extreme for a second. I live in Monument. I've seen illegals in Monument 2 times. They were getting off buses and they were sleeping in a field right by the bus station. It's only happened twice, but that's 2 times too many for me. But I can tell you one thing, I didn't just let it go. Let's just say I made them very uncomfortable. I made the police work harder that day. Everybody in Monument worked a little bit harder that day, and by the end of the day, those illegals were not in Monument. Sure, they shuffled them somewhere else, but guess what? That made all the difference to those Monument residents. It made all the difference to my children. So they're not sleeping in a field by my house anymore. Take them wherever you want. Make the process difficult. Don't make it easy for these people. Make it uncomfortable. And then we're going to have an easier time deporting them. Thank you.
So we've seen the headlines, Tren de Aragua, the Venezuelan gangs. We've seen reports from Monument. We've seen reports from Weld. We've seen reports all across this state, and that is because Colorado is a border state. We're in El Paso County. We are an 8-hour, 40-minute drive to the El Paso border crossing. I'm cigar buddies with guys that are in the Border Patrol. I'm cigar buddies with these law enforcement all across the country, and they're seeing it everywhere. This is an opportunity for the Republican Party to point out the pain of Democrat policies. We also have to deal compassionately with with Hispanics, as you know, and everything, because people live here. But we have to be willing to remove the folks who aren't allowed to live here. I remember talking to a gal about the illegal voting, and she was like all upset about the Facebook ads that the Russians were putting up for Donald Trump in the 2020 or the 2016 election. And I said, I'm also more worried about Mexican citizens voting in American elections. And it was like the light bulb went on in her mind. And she went, I'd never thought of it that way. I'm like, what do you think illegals means? And so we have to be brave enough to deal with these issues and brave enough to take away those issues from the Democrat talking points.
Thank you for your answer. Moving on to question number 9. We're getting close to the end, and the stack of questions you all gave me. Thank you so much.
Oh, we have questions.
Oh, yeah. They're going to be 1-minute ones, though.
Oh, okay.
All right. So, pro-life and family values advocacy. Defend life and parental rights. President Trump supports restrictions on late-term abortion and promoting adoption incentives. America First conservatives have demanded that we fight for pro-life legislation, push back against taxpayer-funded abortions, and promote pro-family policies. Your yes or no question. Do you support banning late-term abortion and promoting adoption as pro-life alternative methods?
Yes.
You'd be surprised at how many Republicans can say that. Oh, man. What will you do as state chair to promote the pro-life agenda as dictated by the RNC charter? 2 minutes.
Oh, my 2 minutes.
Oh, the timer's pointing you.
Okay. So, again, we have to get good conservative candidates elected. I know I keep saying that, but we're not going to accomplish much in the state of Colorado. As we saw, we have some of the most extreme abortion laws in the entire country in Colorado. Was it just 2 years ago or 3 years ago now, I guess, that 26-hour fight for life on the floor of the House? Those legislators fought and fought and fought. And, at the end of the day, which I think it was the next day in the morning, they went home, and after having fought that fight, we still have very, very, very late term abortion up to the day of birth. So we have to get good conservatives elected, or we can't do anything at the legislature. I'm going to take it one more step further, local again. Localities do have some control. You guys, look what Pueblo just recently tried to do. There are cities and counties in the state of Colorado right now that, if they wanted to, could become pro-life cities and counties. There's no reason why, for example, El Paso County, 5 conservative county commissioners, the city of Monument. Why can these localities not be coming together to say, we don't accept this here? Now, I understand that there are private property rights, but there are still restrictions that can be put in place, just like the marijuana industry, just like liquor stores, and we ought to be doing that while we work hard to get conservatives elected to change the trajectory of the state and the continued killing of babies in Colorado.
The pro-life issue within the Republican Party is, to me, a red line. I am adopted. I was born after Roe v. Wade. My birth mother, who I met just a few years ago, made the decision to put me up for adoption. All of her friends, all of her family said, you can just make it go away. And I wouldn't be here. It's a deeply, deeply personal issue. And when folks won't stand strong on pro-life, when people are not willing to say it's a baby, not a clump of cells, if you can't make that distinction, how can I trust you to protect fiscal policy? How can I trust you to protect property rights? How can I trust you to protect voting integrity when you can't even tell me what a life is? Until we get our heads right and our hearts right on this issue, there's going to continue to be some fighting. As chair, I will make pro-life a focal point and a banner issue. I'm not hiding from this one. All right.
So I just received an award this morning from the Well Faith Partnership for two reasons. One is keeping that organization going despite being threatened to be shut down several times because of their support for the pro-life sanctuary county resolution. That resolution, started off with, we believe that unborn children are human beings. That should be a pretty easy concept to grasp, right? But it was voted down. I was the only commissioner to make sure to keep on that track. I helped start or assist with the Pastors for Life concept and the website for basically Colorado Life Initiative. And the idea behind that is when I visited with pastors on the original initiative, even pastors had a hard idea or a hard time overcoming objections, especially with some of the women in their congregation. Back to my experience, I've run those bills every single year. We are a destination location for sex gender selection abortions, by the way. It's a baby girl, done. It's been. We also have abortion up to the day of birth, and it was actually perfected here. We were the first state to legalize abortion under Republicans. So what we are trying to do is we are trying to help some of our candidates speak more compassionately about the issue. You can do that. You can meet every single objection compassionately and with the truth. I learned a lot of that when I ran those bills like the Life and Conception Act every single year. I brought Dr. Lyle into the Pastors for Life, and they were stunned. The tiniest patient you can do brain surgery on and heart surgery on, and he's doing it right now. And that convinced a lot of pastors they too can speak up after listening to Dr. Lyle. And I will have Dr. Lyle at some of our events to raise funds for the Colorado Republican Party as well, because we are the party of pro-life.
Amen. Thank you. Your final official question of the night before we go to the audience questions. Rural representation and agricultural protection, defending rural America. Trump has vowed to protect farmers, ranchers, and rural communities from the government overreach, defending water rights, opposing federal land grabs, and fighting environmental regulations affecting Colorado's agricultural industry. They are absolutely critical. Your yes or no question. Would you fight to protect farmers and ranchers in rural communities that are being ignored by the state government?
Yes.
All right, great. Now we got that out of the way. Your 2-minute question. What will you do as state chair to protect Colorado's ranchers and farmers, and what fundraising initiatives do you propose to bring more financial support to candidates around the state?
As one of my good friends in this room says, half of success is just showing up. I heard from many on my town hall calls over the last several weeks during my chair run that they feel really underrepresented out on the western slope. And so one of the pledges that I've made is that when I'm elected, I will be on the western slope and the eastern plains and all around the state all the time. As a matter of fact, I was laying in bed the other night trying to figure out how I could simplify that travel and kind of mapping it out with one of my friends. We have to show up for our rural counties. They are the backbone of our economy in Colorado. They are the backbone of this state. So it's really just a matter of communicating with those counties, boots on the ground. What do they need? What are they seeing? What are their issues? And how can we, as the state GOP, fix those issues and make them feel more like they are a part of Colorado? What was the second part of the question?
That was it. You answered it.
Okay.
Thank you.
I think I'm good. Oh, and you asked how will you raise money to help candidates in those areas?
Yeah, and how will you push that fundraising initiative to rural communities and counties?
So statewide, like I said earlier, I'm already running a large initiative for local candidates. It's called Build Our Benches. Bob, almost $200,000 in donor, Mr. Liz, $200,000 in donor commitments so far. By midsummer, I expect to double, if not triple that. That money will be used for critical local races across the state, including the western slope and the eastern plains. Wherever there's a critical seat, we're going to allocate maximum resources and maximum funding.
So, for those of you that can see me, I don't have a big hat. I don't drive a pickup truck. However, that's not the mark of a true rural upbringing. I know what it means to go to school 4 days a week. I know what it means to get woken up at 2 a.m. because the cows got into the north field and it's time to clean them up. Rural living is Republican living. And our rural areas are our strongest bastions of conservative values and conservative living. Woo!
Oh, yeah.
As chair, the role of the chair is, of course, to bring up those issues and to make sure that programs like Darcy's Bob are continued. These are wonderful ideas. And as a chair, I'm open to all wonderful ideas. And I understand the hard work that goes into those wonderful ideas. And we need to be aware of and supportive of our rural voters. Not just, it's not just the Front Range. The Front Range is actually where we lose a lot of stuff. We got to make the Front Range more like the rural areas, in my opinion. And we need to, and that I think comes from bringing in the work ethic and the values.
So one of the things I'm going to do differently as a chair is I've been talking to a lot of the chairs, especially in Western Colorado too, and one of the main issues is a lack of communication from the party. We had some opportunities to actually flip some commissioner seats. They lost by a couple hundred votes. That is absolutely ridiculous. We actually had 3 commissioners in one county actually flip over to red, but without the state party help, and that should never happen again. Ever again. The other thing is we shouldn't have a chair candidate that actually owes the party money if we're going to talk about fundraising. Darcy, do you still owe the party money? Because you did when I walked in the door. So maybe you took care of that in the last hour or so.
Are you talking about the cocktail party? You seem to have a really fascination with me tonight. Why don't you focus on your platform?
Darcy, I'm going to hold you accountable for that.
Okay.
So first thing, well, I am serious.
She can't stay focused with me right next
You can ask the treasurer. So back to fundraising. We need go to our counties. I'm sorry if you don't want to hold somebody accountable, sir, because I will. Keep going.
Okay.
And I will also thank you. I will have a sergeant at arms at all meetings, including when we have online Zoom meetings. So if people get disruptive, we will make sure that they are shown the door, because we will not have our meetings interrupted again. So as far as fundraising, we're going to make sure that we go to these counties and we're going to see what it is those counties need for fundraising. We're going to see what it is that really enlivens their constituents to come back to the Republican Party, back to basics. Fundraising is part of basic blocking and tackling. And if they don't trust you to show up and go out there and actually meet them at the door with their needs, they're not going to open their wallets. And we've got to start doing better with grassroots fundraising.
Thank you for your answer. All right, we're going to start the lightning round, and this one's going to be from the audience. This one's actually really simple. This will be less than 1 minute, hopefully. It's a yes or no question from the audience. Thank you for that. You should get more of these. These are really quick. Oh, you didn't go yet?
Sorry?
He went.
I answered.
Oh, yeah, sure. You can start however you want. I don't care.
Oh, on this.
This is your platform. I'm just here to facilitate the questions.
Sure.
All right, your yes or no question from the audience is, do you support primary neutrality, yes or no?
No.
Yes.
Yes, somewhat. So I have an amendment in front of the body on March 29th, so you'll have an opportunity to vote on that. If we have another J.D. Vance that comes up, I would like to have the party the opportunity to endorse that candidate. But as far as all other Colorado candidates, we should have party neutrality. Also, the county parties do have the option right now to endorse candidates. So if county parties want to do that, I'm not going to stop them from doing that. But as far as the state party goes, not only should we not, but the opt-out and the closed primary will basically take care of that for us. If people go through that process, given the opportunity, Republicans will pick the most conservative candidate. It will take care of itself.
Thank you. Your next question.
I want to weigh in on that.
Sure.
I thought it was yes or no.
It was. You had up to a minute if you wanted to.
Well,
but,
Lori and Darcy have taken, they've said that. I'm very staunchly a no. And that's because I don't believe we should be handcuffing the officers of our county parties and our state parties, the folks who have been vetted and approved and put into leadership by our precinct leaders, our division leaders, and all of that kind of stuff. We shouldn't be handcuffing them from having an opinion, because that's a pretty vetted opinion. And if you take out those types of voices, who gets left telling voters who the Republican candidates, the good conservative Republican candidates are. The money, the donors, and there ain't no vetting on the donors. We've got Democrats throwing their money in to our primary races, and as elected Republicans, who are the people most in the position to know and understand the danger that poses, we've told them they have to sit down and sit on their hands. That's dumb.
I just want to be clear real quick. I'm not stopping counties from endorsing. That's not the resolution I'm bringing forward. County parties can still endorse if they want to. If they want to do that for candidates, we're not going to stop them from doing that.
So what the counties do, counties have local autonomy, and so I'm in the same camp that when counties want to endorse or not endorse, that's their choice. I'm speaking clearly from the state party standpoint, and from a state party standpoint, I think that we've heard from the general voting body that, look, it doesn't matter how I feel about primary neutrality or about how anybody feels about it right now. What matters is that it does seem like the unintended consequences were bad. There was more harm than good that came out of that scenario. And so I want to put the information on the candidates out there everywhere and trust that our voters with the correct information will always choose the most conservative candidate. And we can do that without causing a major inter-party civil war that ripples out into the media and hurts us.
I will point out that, in my opinion, and I'm fairly well versed on this particular one, if we are successful with the opt-out, that moots the issue. So my solution to that particular kerfluffle is the opt-out.
All right, great. Next question from the audience. When you talk about unity in the Republican Party, were you against or were you in favor of the coup against Chairman Dave Williams? And do you still support how Dave Williams handled the last 2 years' grassroots Republican efforts?
I was against the coup. As somebody who works for the state party, I definitely stood against the coup. And as far as the ongoing lawsuit goes, I personally hand-delivered the lawsuit to Britta Horn at the Waffle House, as Kyle Clark so eloquently wrote about a couple weeks ago. I did that not to continue lawsuit after lawsuit, but to set the precedent that if you don't respect the bylaws, if you don't respect the inner rulings of the party, and you squander over $100,000 of donor dollars that I helped raise on an internal struggle, we're gonna get that money back from you somehow. So we have got to stop with that, and that coup, the people that perpetrated that have to be held accountable.
So when they called that meeting to order, that meeting in Broomfield, we had another meeting going on in El Paso County, and that meeting was to hold Todd Watkins accountable for his actions. We were calling for his removal. That required a 2/3 majority vote, and we didn't reach it, unfortunately. I actually presented the prosecution. We had a lot of folks that got very upset about having to apply discipline to one of our own. And I will tell you, Todd Watkins was vice chair because I helped get him elected vice chair of El Paso County. We didn't know he was going to turn completely retarded. Like mea culpa. But he did. And now you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. I think that's just how the world works.
So I spent a good amount of 2 months helping organize volunteers to make calls for Dave to keep him in office. What they were doing was just wrong on every single level. And being that close to a general election, I think we could have won more seats. The red wave that went across some of these states has just been so tremendous, and I think it stopped short of Colorado because of that kind of infighting. That was not the right time to do it. If we're the party of rule and of law and order, we need to do things correctly. And to have somebody walk around, another candidate's chair walk around saying that she's the vice chair, that's delusional. That's absolutely delusional. So back to, I filed one of the controversies as well in this fight against the coup, but we did spend a lot of time making phone calls, and it was actually really good. The brotherhood of our Republicans is stronger than people think, and I think that's what people have missed. They did not like what had happened that day overall and by and large, which is why Dave Williams kept his seat and why I think we will continue to have good conservative leadership again. I think just a little bit more professional. I would have hired a process server instead of just slamming it on my opponent's plate at an IHOP.
Thank you. The next question from the audience. How do you inspire unaffiliated voters to register as Republicans?
So I cut my teeth doing ballot access. That means I've actually shaken hands. On the first issue I ever carried, it was the Right to Work Initiative back in 2008. I collected 14,784 signatures. I'm really, really good at getting people to stop and sign things, but I'm only about a 1 in 10 stop. So do the math. That's 150,000 handshakes. It's 150,000. Hi, are you registered to vote? When you interact with people, when you talk to people, when you shake that number of hands, you know what the pulse of the population is. We have to get out of our little meetings, get off of our little focus group, forums and chat rooms. We have to go out and we have to risk getting people's bad breath and spit on us. Like, we just have to. You're not going to win this.
Thank you, Mr. Goodall. That's your minute.
So as I mentioned earlier, it's about meeting the voters where they're at in their diverse communities and talking about the issues that matter to them, the dinner table issues, why their communities may be suffering, why our communities may be doing better than some of these blue communities, and really not just hammering the message home, but showing what the message looks like in real life. That's how we bring the unaffiliateds over, is showing them what it means to be a Republican. And as a matter of fact, if you guys haven't gotten the email or the text, one of Colorado's biggest Democrat education activists, he once called me the devil. Once he started working with me last year, he flipped from Democrat to Republican. And he sent out a letter to the state recently and said, she showed me that forgiveness, compassion, welcoming people in, and just strengthening our community is what it means to be a Republican. So we just need to show people what it means.
Next audience question. What differentiates you from the other Republican GOP chair candidates?
Lori.
Oh, sorry, Lori. I apologize. Backtracking. My mistake.
It's okay. So back to meeting them at the door. Walking is one of my favorite things to do. I've walked for many, many candidates, including Gabe Evans and Dan Woog. But meeting people at the door, you find out what their issues are, what they are concerned about. I walked for the Election Integrity Project and found that there was cheating on the ground in Weld County. And guess what? Democrats are concerned about that too, and unaffiliated. Some of the best work I've done, just going back to a state legislator, is if you can solve the problem before it gets to legislation, that's one of the best kind of leadership that you can provide. And you can only do that from getting outside your fortress. You actually have to be on the ground meeting people and trying to solve that problem. And we can if unity is a big deal for folks, we can do that by meeting people where they are in those communities and making sure we're reflecting their Republican values in not only in deed, but integrity and in everything that we do. So,
thank you, Mr. Sain. Now going on to the next question. My mistake. Apologize to the audience there. What differentiates you from the other Republican GOP chair candidates? You have 1 minute.
Well, I hope the two ladies to either side of me don't take offense at this. I am a man, and I do recognize that they are women. I'm not confused by this.
oh my gosh.
But I believe actually, because I was thinking about this the other day, because folks have asked, you guys are all very grassroots-oriented folks. Why are you in this? And I think the one thing that I actually do bring is that I have never actually been a politician. I've been ancillary to politics. I've worked with candidates at all sorts of levels. I've been from the very trenches all the way through, but I have never been an elected person. And if you want the opt-out to stick, that's the biggest issue we've got.
Thank you, Mr. Goodall. That's your minute.
Oh.
Next.
Sorry. Okay.
Well, it sounds like Darcy wants me to go next. I'll lead. So with that, the difference is you know where I stand. So right away, I took a pledge, and you can see where I stand, especially on the primary neutrality. I came out with that first, and I'm the only person that submitted that to the body. But also being just a little bit more professional as far as party transparency is party efficiency. If you can make sure that things run more like a business, I understand we're not a business, but having quarterly reports so people don't have to ask. I think that makes it a lot better for the rest of the folks in our party. So you can see where I stand not only on my voting record, 100% with cut. A candidate can say anything they want. The only thing you've got to look at is their voting record. Will they continue to uphold party principles, which I obviously have, and a pledge, which I have put out there, and I have changed the terms of engagement on this battlefield. Thank you.
So I am the only candidate in this race who has put together a solid plan with all the moving pieces to fundraise, help candidates get elected, and then continue that conservative work at the elected level. I have, as I mentioned several times tonight, created an initiative that's already been raising money, the Bob Initiative, Build Our Benches. I also have a candidate questionnaire out to recruit good candidates early and often. And my team has also put out a data questionnaire to identify pain points as far as data infrastructure and processes for our counties, electeds, and our candidates. So when I see that there is something that's needed, when I see that there's an issue, I get in there and I fix it. That's who I will continue to be on day one of my administration. That robust plan that my team and I have been building will be implemented successfully and aggressively, and it will be there for future generations. Thank you.
The next question from the audience. The responsibility of the GOP chair is to elect Republicans. How do you raise money and how do you distribute that money?
So you raise money through micro donors and through large donors, through events, through outreach, through targeted messaging, and then you raise money around the issues. You also raise money around the candidates. I think I've spoken a lot tonight about my fundraising efforts. For over a year now, I've been running the Colorado GOP Capital Club. I have run that on my own, recruited all the speakers, and recruited all the people that attend that. That has served as a really good fundraiser for our party. So we want to have those and other price points, as well as outreach to target micro and large donors. So it's all the moving pieces. That's what brings in the most fundraising.
I'll defer to Lauren.
Okay. So I have a lot of experience fundraising for the Republican Party. One of my jobs was the chair of the caucus of the Republican House Republicans. And we were left in a very similar situation to Dave, where we were not left with very much money when we came into power. And so I had a couple weeks to do a pre-session fundraiser. And that funds a lot of activities, especially for candidates. I did raise nearly, or got 150,000 committed on that, so I had to do that within a couple weeks. I have raised money for other organizations in my district, as far as UNC and some others when it comes to pro-oil and gas messaging, and raised $500,000 for ALEC to come to Denver for the first time in its 40-year history, which is the only organization dedicated to Jeffersonian principles of limited government, free markets, and federalism. The only organization for elected officials in the local races as well.
So my primary fundraising experience is not in the political realm. It's more through venture capital and business and investment fundraising. And I can tell you that while both of these gals have given you very wonderful technical and principled sort of answers, the main obstacle to fundraising is doubt. Where there is doubt, there is no doubt. There's no money. We must break the attitudes and bring about confidence that the Republican Party will stand for what people want it to stand for, and that we can actually do what we say we're going to do with the money. Until you get people confident in our ability to act out on policy, to act out and affect the changes that we all want to see, you won't see the money. And so we need to get our house in order to even open the doors to getting the money in.
Thank you, Mr. Goodall. Your minute's up. Ooh, a contentious question from the audience, of course.
Yay.
You mentioned principled Republicans, but a lot of Republicans get voted in and stand with the Democrats. Do you support a so-called purity test questionnaire? You have 1 minute.
Principles aren't a purity test, they're principles. It's on a Republican website. If you don't believe that, I would suggest not running as a Republican.
I will offer a high five on that.
I'll mic drops softly.
Yeah, there.
Please do not drop the microphone.
If you hang out with me often enough, you'll hear this quote out of me. Principles are by their nature inconvenient. If your principles are dropped for the sake of convenience, then they weren't your principles. Convenience was. As far as the candidates, I think the solution to that is actually the opt-out. When we opt out, you're going to be putting it back into the hands of the actual bonus members and the party faithful to choose our candidates. Right now, our candidates are being chosen by outside donor groups in many, many cases. And as I've said, there's no vetting on those outside donor groups. It's a First Amendment issue. They can throw their money anywhere they want, and they like to throw it into the Republican primary. Why is that? Because then, as Democrats, they get to choose their opponent.
So aside from closing the primary and protecting our assembly, which leads into getting good conservative candidates elected, we hope, sometimes they still let us down. People fool us when they're running for office. So we have to take it a step further, and after we get those candidates elected, we have to continue that ongoing education about what it looks like to vote conservatively, what it means to be a conservative on city council, what it means to be a conservative in the state senate. And we have to continue that education. Rep. Stephanie Luck created a program about 2 years ago to do that. That is something to me that needs to be resurrected immediately so that our elected officials are voting the way that we elected them to do. And when they don't, it's okay for us to hold them accountable. In fact, they work for us. Why are we a Republican Party if we're not electing Republicans to uphold our values? And I do plan to hold them accountable, as I always have, and as chair, I promise you I will.
Your minute's up. Next audience question. Could the state GOP lead a new ballot initiative to reverse the open primary? Otherwise, all primary ballots will be sent to unaffiliates who will become Democrats.
Say that again.
This is from the audience. I did not write this question. Could the state GOP lead a new ballot initiative to reverse the open primary?
Could?
That's what it states.
Could
they? Could you lead a new ballot initiative to reverse the open primary in order to prevent unaffiliated from becoming Democrats?
You can run a ballot initiative on anything.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
but we've got to.
Having done lots of them, and ballot issues are always on the table for any organization that wants to go through the headache of the title board.
That's the problem.
Having just dealt with the title board and watched Darcy and my father get totally reamed, you yelled at them, and then actually my father, the Reverend Doctor, I think made two of them cry. It was amazing. They were literally that upset because if you think I preach, he's got that in crazy. But to go through that process, I would add when I was talking about the opt-out process, we've got non-Republican voters voting in our elections, we've got Democrat donors putting their money into our primaries, and then we've got Democrat secretaries of state counting our ballots. Well, when you do this, now you've got the Democrat title board. You're going to put that on top of it. Then you're going to put a court challenge going back through the Democrat courts. Like, guys, the quickest way out, the fastest solution, from point A to point B to get Democrats out of control of our process is the opt-out.
Thank you.
I guess it might help to have the Reverend Doctor make them cry, because I think that's great.
Oh, yeah, it was amazing.
Excellent. We'll do everything at our disposal to close the primary. And again, the close the primary lawsuit, we need to actually, and this is what I'll do differently, is I want to make sure that we're funding it on a consistent basis to make sure our attorneys have what they need to close the primary. I think that's extremely important. And like I said, I've got the endorsement of Kevin Lumber because he knows that I will be very diligent in doing that. Also, I've been actually talking with county chairs for the last 2 or 3 months about the opt-out and having them come up with ideas. And the more they talk about the opt-out, the more excited they get. Because leadership does have to come from the bottom up, not from the top down. And they've come up with some really amazing ideas. And I think as we get more county chairs involved in that discussion, I think people are really going to liven up. It's not going to be nearly as expensive as what some of these folks are saying to try to scare you off. Again, self-governance is hard. We are Republicans. We can do it.
Thank you, Mrs. Singh.
Okay, can you repeat the question?
Could the state GOP lead a new ballot initiative to reverse the open primary?
Okay, so that's probably not the most effective route. In addition to all the issues that Jeremy just mentioned, we now know the cost of signatures in Colorado, the cost of signatures anywhere has gotten so ridiculous. And as all the organizations were looking for volunteer ballot people, they didn't have enough. There weren't enough people. So we simply don't have enough money and enough people to run a successful ballot initiative.
Oh, no, I was just going to echo that. 6 years ago, the cost of a signature on any particular initiative was something around, to the guy standing on the street that's asking you for the signature was maybe 25, 35, 50 cents if it was like a really tight issue. This last cycle, per signature was like $5, $6, $7.
Yeah. We saw some up to 12 and 18.
Yeah.
I mean, and the companies were coming from they were like the roofing companies coming into, when there's a storm, and then the candidates go turn in the signatures, and like 50% of them aren't valid. So the ballot initiatives right now are just a sketchy premise. So the opting out is the first priority, and we have to continue that lawsuit. We do have a tool up to fund for that lawsuit. But aside from that, I do want to let you guys know I have been working with the devil a little bit, talking to some Democrat legislators as well as the chair of the Democrat Party. They do have an interest in closing the primaries because the Democrats also don't want bought and paid for candidates. So all of that to say, while we have to continue the lawsuit 100%, I want to work on it also from a legislative standpoint. All the moving pieces, any way we can succeed, we've got to succeed in closing the primary.
Thank you, Mr. Cheney. All right, the next question from the audience is, what is your opinion on the 5 or 6 amendments to the SCC bylaws, and are you for or against them, and your reasons, please?
I am for them, so I will be voting. Excuse me? Oh. Yes.
Sorry.
It's okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think as we stated earlier, there's really not a lot of difference on most of the big policy issues. I'm supportive of all of them. I do think, with one exception, the amendment to remove to amend the membership that was held over. The 6th one, which was held over. That one does actually, I think, in my opinion, run afoul of Colorado revised statutes, and bylaws do not trump law. So I would have to decline on that particular one. But as Lori said,
there's only 5 being offered.
Yeah. So with the 5 being offered, I am definitely a yes on all of those.
Okay, so we were going to start with Lori on that question. Would you like to start over? Or?
No, all 5 that are being offered, I'm going to vote yes on those and encourage others to do so. Actually, I can't because I am not a bonus member. Thank you, Weld County. But I was also not there this last Saturday. I actually had to work. So did my replacement, Lynette Kilpatrick Pepler, who was the only commissioner that voted right to keep volunteers in her party, by the way. She's a good one. Make sure you come around her because she is a patriot. And she was treated horribly after that vote. It was just... And I've experienced that. There's no call for that. Your vote is your voice, is your constituents' voice, and they don't want more taxes. They don't want many more of those things. So anyway, back to the point. We need to make sure that we can fight properly. And I think some of those amendments have been brought forward by our body. By the way, it's not just top-down dictatorship. Those are brought forward. I think anything that people want to bring forward, we should have the opportunity to discuss as a body.
Good. Ms. Shaney.
So as Jeremy said, I feel very similar to my other 2 peers up here. But where I differ on this issue, I believe, is that this is going to be one of the last times that you're even going to hear me say how I even kind of feel about bylaws. As your next chair, it's important to me to run fair and unbiased meetings and to not have to recuse myself from those meetings. So I want to always hear from all of you guys how you feel so that I can make the best choices and run the most effective meetings. And that is my promise to you, that I won't be pushing anything from either side because I want to truly serve as a chair that enforces the will of the people. And I can work within whatever bylaws and whatever system you guys prescribe to get Republicans elected, defeat the Democrats, and advance our values.
4 more audience questions before we end this amazing forum. Will you support all Republicans who win their primaries, even if there's no GOP financial support for those Republicans that you disagree with?
Yes, this is a really easy question. We have to support any Republican is better than a Democrat, right? I mean, can't think of any that aren't. We have to support our Republican candidates, and I plan to fundraise, and I plan to offer them the valuable resources they need. But at a minimum, we have to support them with our word and with our boots on the ground.
So as a human being, it's always difficult to choke it down and support people you vehemently disagree with. This last cycle, I had to eat some crow and carry and hand out and distribute literature for Senator Larry Liston. And if you know his voting record and you've listened to anything I've said tonight, I think you understand how divergent that is. But when it comes to getting Republicans elected, that is the job of the chair. And as the chair, I would be duty-bound to do so, and I will do what I am duty-bound to do so. I won't necessarily like it.
If you're running to be the chair of the Republican Party, you're running to be the chair of the Republican Party. And the candidates I walked for, I didn't always agree with their stances, but I walked for them. And I know they appreciate it, help cure ballots. And again, visible leadership is important. You need to be on the ground where people can see you doing those things. So again, you inspire others. You inspire everyone, your neighbors, seeing you walk door to door, sweating your, you know what off, and doing all the things to meet people where they are. So the short answer is absolutely yes.
Thank you. Per the chairman's instructions, there'll be one final question, and I picked the one that made the most sense. I have not heard anyone talk about supporting county parties. What will you do as a GOP chairperson moving forward to support our county parties? 1 minute.
Actually, I think I've talked extensively about supporting counties in my platform, on my shows and everything, but let me just go ahead and put it together. So in the Bob initiative, the Build Our Benches initiative, fundraising for candidates, We will be funneling that through the counties, working with those counties to discover who are their critical candidates, what are their pain points. And then when I talk about data infrastructure and processes, take it down to the nuts and bolts level. For example, I want to have a Colorado GOP website that funnels down into the smaller websites for all the counties. 60% of our counties don't even have websites. That's unacceptable. So on day one of my administration, those counties will have every resource they need for their issues, their candidates, and to help get candidates elected in their counties.
You got
Okay. So it actually was on the pledge I put on my website a couple weeks ago that one of the requests I've heard from county chairs was that they want to have a website that's a little bit more comprehensive so they know whose Lincoln Day dinner is where, so they can help coordinate and help other counties. Republicans want to help other Republicans as well in their fight. So I think that's really important. So we're going to make the website a little bit more modern. We're going to use a CRM. We're going to use a customer relation database to actually track who we're talking to, how many times we've touched them, if they've given money. We have no idea who we've talked to or if we are following up with people. Most businesses fail because they don't follow up. And again, if we run this more like a business, we need to use more modern tools to make sure we are touching people frequently on their issues, on their concerns, and before we even ask them for $1.
So I will actually diverge a little bit from my compatriots here on this stage. I want everyone to imagine the worst boss you've ever had. Think about how they dealt with you. It was a top-down, and I know because I've had them too. A top-down, imposing, telling you this is the new plan, this is how it's going to go, we're going to impose this, you're going to do this, you. The best boss I've ever had, the best bosses I've ever had, and who I will attempt to emulate, are the ones who reach out to you. And as a bonus member for El Paso County and having gone through and helped rebuild that organization, I think I can offer critique, I can offer help, but I know that the first step is listening to our county chairs, vice chairs, and secretaries and extracting from them what they need help with most. And it'll be different from Pitkin County and Rowan County to Jefferson County and El Paso and Weld and the larger ones.
Thank you, Mr. Goodall. Mm-hmm. Well, I just want to, before we end the show, the chairman of the Colorado Hispanic Republicans would like to make some closing remarks. Mr. Chairman, you have the floor.
All right.
In front of the camera.
I want to thank everybody that came out tonight and those that already have left. Thank you guys for coming out here. I want to thank everybody online that's watching us here. We really appreciate all of you guys. The question I'm always asked is why we do this. You are the answer to the question. You are why we all do this. I would like each of you guys to please join the Colorado Hispanic Republicans. You can go online to coloradohispanicrepublicans.org and join up as a member. People ask, do you have to be Hispanic to be a member? You know, I ask the question, do you like tacos? Yes. You are Hispanic. Please join us. Please help us do what we do. If you can make any kind of donation tonight, I would really appreciate it. Every penny helps. We like the money that jingles, but we love the money that folds. So, 1 second. So again, thank all of you for coming tonight. Then I would like to tell you, thank these people for showing up for you. They took time out of their schedule for you. One of the people on this stage tonight is going to be your next Colorado GOP chair. Then I would like to address each and every one of you. You guys are not your enemies. You guys are your friends. You are us. Okay? Remember that. Okay? Don't attack each other. Okay? And with that, Lori would like to say something real quick.
Oh, and this is the same as the other candidates. I just want to thank you for having this forum. I want to thank the candidates for showing up. That's actually very courageous sometimes, and just being willing to answer those questions in depth and put yourself out there.
I would have gone with the other mic, but it's okay. I want to thank everyone that's taken the time to come out, and especially the folks that have been in the viewing audience. You guys, even though you can't maybe drive all the way out here, this is a decision you're going to have to make. And we, whoever it is that ends up as the chair, has my condolences. Because this chairmanship is not a springboard to greater and better opportunities. It is not a stepping stone. It's a landmine. And whoever is in there is going to need the support of everyone that is in the sound of my voice in diffusing that, because it is breaking good people. It is damaging a party that is critical to the future of our state. It is necessary to get the right man, the right person, and to get folks excited, and to get our sides working together. Conciliation is not compromise. And if we don't open our hearts and get our attitudes right towards one another, it doesn't matter how many doors we knock, how many texts we send, how many petitions we sign, how many dollars we raise. We're still going to be walking in circles in the wilderness, starving for leadership.
Oops, sorry, I knocked you over. I'm going to push back on you a little. I love you to death, but it's not condolences. It's not condolences to the next state chair. I want to do this. I declared early and I jumped in early. I'm ready to do this. This is the best job in the world in my mind. It's not a thankless job. Seeing all of you, getting those hugs, seeing your smiling faces at the events, helping you solve your issues, protecting your kids, that's what I love to do. And that's why I'm asking for your vote as the next Colorado GOP chair. Thank you.
Okay, and our final words for tonight. Is this on? Yeah. Final words for tonight. I would like to thank Bob Lewis, who is our perpetual timekeeper. He works for us every single time. And I would like to thank Adam Dorito, who has brought us to a new level in debates and forums. Thank you guys very much. Thank you guys all for coming out tonight. We really appreciate it. You have a good night. Drive careful.
Thank you, Ray.
Thanks, sir.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was the Tuxes Tomahawks Podcast. Thank you so much for watching online. I know it was probably really choppy, but I'm going to upload a full-blown video. And if you're a candidate running for any state office, moving into the next election cycle, and for state chair, vice chair, GOP, please reach out to me. I'm more than willing to give you a long-form interview and get that published. And until next time, stay safe out there.